Moroha Hamura is a lonely loser who somehow ends up in a massive harem. After unlocking his past life's memories where he used to be the world's strongest person, while the saviors are in a life or death brawl with the dragon entity, Metaphysical, the backup team is in a jam. But here comes Moroha, the main guy of the show, thinking about the past lives of Shizuno and Satsuki. He gets all hero-like and says he's gonna whip anyone trying to mess with the lives of his beloved ones. Now, we find ourselves 6 months back in a school setting. A hot witch who seems to be the principal is passionately speaking to the selected student. Amidst the principal's enthusiastic discourse, Moro, the main character, is feeling a bit drowsy and thinks that this might be a good time for a quick nap. As he dozes off, he dreams about his previous life with a girl named Satsuki. As he and Satsuki are about to kiss, he wakes up and sees the same girl in front of him who headbutts him so hard, causing him to fall down, tumbling a group of chairs. As he becomes fully aware that the girl in front of him is from his dream, he calls her by her old name, Sarasha. She responds with Flaga and instantly jumps in joy, calling him her brother. But he quickly informs her that he has little memory of his past life, and that the name simply popped up in his mind. She quickly suggests headbutting him again, but a noise quickly catches their attention, and they turn around to see a hot chick lying down on the floor, seemingly sleeping. Moroha gets the main character privileged and gets kissed by the hot chick, prompting the pathetic Satsuki to break it up out of jealousy and lash out on Shizuno. When Moroha attempts to calm down the situation, the hot chick introduces herself as Shizuno and asks him what he thought of her lips, but the shy Moroha is left uncomfortable by the question, seen flustered and bothered. Pathetic Satsuki runs out crying about how Moroha doesn't even remember her. Later in the classroom, the homeroom teacher is about to call out attendance, but Satsuki calls herself out and shows another pathetic act by introducing herself. But as always, she is met with negative remarks as to why people should follow her, leaving herself embarrassed. Moroha saves the day by ending the commotion. So, the homeroom teacher decides it's Coliseum time, dragging the class along with Shizuno and the gang. The teacher informs them that at Akane Private Academy, students with memories of past lives are here to hone their skills and ancestral arts to become defenders against metaphysical monsters. The students fall into two groups, the Shiragang, summoning offensive weapons through their prana, and the Kuroma, wielding magical abilities. The training kickstarts with a flashy opening by the teacher, promising the lowdown on mastering light skills and summoning prana, basically a cosmic bodysuit. While the students are fascinated by the scene, the instructor drops the bomb that, since they had past lives, this should be easy for them. Spoiler alert, it's not, except for Satsuki and this dude Gen Isurugi, who seem to nail it effortlessly. But then, things take a nosedive. Satsuki and Gen dive headfirst into a heated argument that escalates into a duel. Satsuki, unfortunately, bites the dust, and Gen, in full taunt mode, declares her the champion of weak sauce. Moro, the unexpected hero, throws his sweater on Satsuki after her outfit takes a hit, revealing more than planned. Satsuki, in the aftermath of her not-so-glorious defeat, makes a swift exit, probably rethinking her life choices. Moroha and Satsuki are later seen at a fast food area but still depressed about the match. Satsuki brings up her downs, certain facts about her life, and how she's had no friends due to moving from place to place because of metaphysical attacks. Adding to her dreams of her past life, she tells Moroha that she no longer feels alone. She then starts crying about her losses and asks Moroha to scold her, but is interrupted by the hot chick Shizuno, who starts eating her French fries. This greatly bothers Satsuki, but Shizuno once again ignores her remarks on leaving and walks up to Moroha, giving him the time of his life. The two girls then get into a one-sided argument once again. At the school, Moroha confronts that bully and demands that he apologizes to Satsuki, but Isurugi says he will only apologize if he can hit him once and tosses him weapons to fight. As Isurugi has the upper hand for the majority of the fight, Shizuno tells Satsuki that Moroha is fighting for her and that she will not let her look away during the midst of the fight. After being pinned to the ground, Moroha regains a memory of him and Satsuki, where she shouts out, and he is seen promising her that he would always come home to her no matter how dangerous the battle is. When she shouts again that she will give him a kiss if he wins, he states that he remembered, which allows him to fully release his main character power, prana, and release his holy sword Salatika, though which he overwhelms Isurugi and defeats him. Due to the amount of magic used, he faints but is caught by a crying Satsuki in the stands. Later, down the line, Moro has in for a wild awakening, after waking up with a kiss from a loli. The hot witch principal, who also happened to be there, introduces herself as Mary and tells him it was a way to replenish his energy, dropping bombshells about reincarnations, saviors, an ancient dragon, and the grand reveal that Moroha is in for a double dose of reincarnation. Talk about a wake-up call. Later, Satsuki wants to kiss but is too shy to go about it, so Shizuno shows her how it is done. In their classroom, suddenly, this guy seeks Moroha and Shizuno's attention. He is Jin Isurugi, the elder brother of that bully who got his ass kicked by Moroha. He apologizes on behalf of his younger brother, and since he has observed Moroha has fighting skills, he is no doubt ranked C and can join his strikers group that fights metaphysical. Of course, this means his scholarship is supported, but on the downside, he has to go on missions that would put his life at risk. The temptation of money is too great for him to resist. Shizuno is on reserve eavesdropping. Satsuki wants to join too, but Jin is sure about how much of a loser she is. Moroha and Shizuno are introduced to the rest of the strikers. Apart from that embarrassing line, they have to say, "We are the saviors. Everything else is okay." After practice, Satsuki is delighted to be with Moroha again. However, Shizuno informs her that they're tired, and this routine will continue for the rest of the day, leaving Satsuki feeling down. Moroha, while understanding that Shizuno is looking out for her, doesn't appreciate how she treated Satsuki. He suggests to Shizuno that if she wants to make him happy, she should try smiling herself. Moroha then joins up with Satsuki, who transforms from a sad girl into a happy one in his company. The next day, Satsuki calls Shizuno to accompany her out. Satsuki wants to get something for Moro as a congratulatory present for joining the strikers but doesn't know what to get. As they look around, suddenly some metaphysical snake attacks occur. Satsuki is scared, but to prove that she is not that pathetic, she summons her courage to fight it after thinking Moroha wouldn't want a cowardly sister like her. Shizuno supports her, and they go all out. Once the entire area is evacuated, Shizuno saves Satsuki and in return gets semi-petrified. Getting scared goes up another notch because this metaphysical is some sort of hydra with multiple heads. Meanwhile, Moroha couldn't believe Jin and his strikers were sitting around like a useless bunch. Jin says this is an extraordinary metaphysical situation that needs an entire army or else they will die. Moroha is going to do it himself because this metaphysical thing seems to have a tentacle, and Satsuki is seconds before being tainted. Thankfully, heroes always arrive at the right time. As he fights, Shizuno reminds him to use his other power. Conveniently, he remembers and starts air writing those spells to kill it, so powerful that the entire complex is destroyed, and it is raining metaphysical heads in the aftermath. Satsuki receives a surprising invitation from Jin to join the strikers because he's impressed with her bravery, noting they need more individuals like her. Overjoyed, Satsuki's happiness is impervious to Shizuno's sarcasm. However, when the incident report credits the three of them as heroes, Satsuki is displeased, feeling that Moroha should take all the credit. Later, while the trio enjoys their time in a cafe, an Englishman named Sir Edward Lampard enters and places his order for English tea. This doesn't sit well with Satsuki. She lets him try some natto-flavored tea, but he doesn't quite like it. Moroha suddenly feels time stop, but it is Edward who is moving too fast. Edward throws a punch, stopping just short of hitting Moroha's face. It becomes evident that this was merely a test, and Edward expresses his disappointment before leaving the scene. Shizuno explains that he is the head of England's headquarters, like the other powerhouse countries. He is probably here to check out Moroha in person. Satsuki may not like that guy but is happy. This will increase Moroha's reputation to S rank. However, Shizuno says once he reaches that rank, he will no longer have freedom. For example, Moroha will even need permission to take a walk. Later, they bump into Loli from before, who introduces herself as Maya. The girls are not impressed that the blonde Loli stole a kiss from their beloved Moroha. Shizuno reveals that Maya is their principal Mary's little sister. As her brother is the school director, Moroha is put to the test in a practice class, facing a challenge from Joker Kinkichi Menendo. Despite Moroha's firepower having no effect on him, Moroha, in his usual kind manner, retaliates and returns the favor many times over. It becomes clear that pleading for forgiveness later is too late. Maya confides in Moroha privately about Shizuno's brother, revealing that he's been using Shizuno as a tool to further his own ambitions. The intense training and pressure to become an executive are all part of his plan to elevate his own status. Despite this, Maya is grateful that Shizuno has found happiness since meeting Moroha. Uninterested in the dull meeting between her brother and Edward, Shizuno would rather spend her time watching Moroha sleep. Flashbacks of their past lives reveal Shizuno as a witch in the icy castle of her master. Moroha accidentally wakes up, finding himself in a compromising position, and she playfully challenges him to kiss her. Meanwhile, it seems like Satsuki has a radar for potential kisses involving Moroha, her sensors ready to trigger her irritation. Later, Shizuno's brother invites Moroha to dinner. He starts mentioning the conditions to become S rank by defeating a super metaphysical on his own, despite Moroha insisting that the three of them defeated it. Big Brother believes he can still attain that rank if the other two certify to it. He can be the second highest rank in Japan, and what better way to repay his uncle and aunt? Shizuno is not pleased that he is trying to force this honor, but he tells her this is her family's decision. A little later, we have a little romantic screen time between Moroha and Shizuno, as well as snippets of flashbacks that are too early to say anything about. After being dropped off on his way back, Moroha senses that someone is tailing him and confronts the mysterious biker lady. She swiftly attacks him, and what seems to upset Moroha the most, triggering his power up and fighting back, is the destruction of his bag filled with high-quality food. Despite the assailants' efforts, Moroha's power proves strong enough to tear certain parts of her suit, bringing the match to an end. Edward calls Shizuno's brother to inform him that he was the one who sent his maid, Angela Johnson, to attack Moroha as a test. He is disappointed in the outcome. Although there is this huge wound blemish on Angela's thigh, Shizuno is shocked when her big brother says she has to study abroad in England. She really doesn't want to, but it's her family's decision. Maya becomes Moroha's roommate and starts living with him, as instructed by Mary. Is this even legal? Shizuno has been absent from school today. Maya rushes in to give the bad news. Shizuno's family is having dinner with Edward and talks about her transfer to England. Moroha calls her and wants to hear from her if she really wants to go. He can tell she is reluctant but does not have the power to voice her opinion. So Moroha breaks into the mansion, says the taboo word that he defeated the metaphysical himself to claim he is S-rank material, and then carries Shizuno off. The loli who surprisingly can drive a sports car come drifting with Satsuki and drives away with both of them. Since Big Brother is desperate, he gives Edward all the necessary permission to bring them back. Edward and Angela catch up. Moroha suggests that if he defeats him, Shizuno will remain here while Satsuki and Shizuno handle Angela. The guys duke it out in a power battle that literally changes the shape of the environment. At first, Moroha is on a losing streak, but when Maya puts up some field barriers, Moroha has the confidence to go all out. He starts chanting his spell, which even breaks Edward's sword, but he has a backup. This time he summons some badass swords and armor. Conveniently, Moroha was thinking about Shizuno, and then he starts to remember everything about that past life with her. It makes him able to chant some forbidden spell that causes everything to freeze. Edward is so freaking impressed with this that he literally takes it all in. In the aftermath, Moroha reveals he didn't win but just merely froze Edward. Speaking of the devil, Edward personally comes to see Moroha to admit his defeat and also cancels arrangements for Shizuno's overseas study. He wants to know why Moroha didn't dodge his punch, to which Moroha reveals it is because he didn't feel his killing intent. Edward finds it unbelievable that Moroha can even read other people's intentions. Later on, Moroha engages in a conversation with Shizuno, seeking confirmation that her past life was that of the Witch of the Netherworld. She expresses a desire for him to remember her properly. In a flashback, it is revealed that Moroha freed her from her chains, and in return, she decided to follow him. Shizuno asserts that Moroha holds the responsibility to bind her once again, as he had done in both the past and present. This act, she claims, is his atonement for her. Summer vacation is finally here and strikers decide that they are going to have a small camp on an island. A weirdo who claims to be the vice captain of the strikers touches Moroha in a really weird way and asks him to go shopping for a swimsuit with her. Meanwhile, the pathetic Satsuki acts so idiotically that even children are scared of her. Meanwhile, in the shopping mall, Moroha spots his senior Momo, who also happens to shop for a sassy swimsuit. Later, after being transported to the island, Satsuki challenges Momo and thinks she is confident in beating her just because her chest is slightly bigger than hers. Obviously, no matter how many times Satsuki tries, she cannot outrun Momo. Edward calls Moroha to inform him that he wants to nominate him as an S-rank candidate. But some Russian man is strongly against it. Maya warns about this guy since he is a scary person. For the rest of the days, strikers practice hard and have fun hard as well. Later that night, Satsuki is desperate to beat Momo, so she asks for Moroha to personally train her. They talk about their past lives, and he wants her to give up her challenge to Momo in speed as her forte. However, Satsuki is determined to beat Momo, so she continues to train under Moro's supervision, and she's got a lot of catching up to do. Satsuki thought she felt something ominous over the sea. Maybe it's just a cold breeze. Everyone uses fireworks. Maya explains how she was confused when she first saw her past life and was unsure which was the real her. Mary assured her she was still the same person then and now because they were the same soul. Shizuno pops up before Moro in a gorgeous yukata. On the other hand, the six heads who control the White Knight Agency gather in Great Britain and clash ideas as they think about how to deal with Moroha's promotion to S-rank. Not everyone is in favor of Moroha being seen as S-rank. Suddenly, a colossal metaphysical creature emerges on the coast of a specific island in Japan. Those skeptical of Moroha's abilities see this as an opportunity to test his S-rank status. As the island's residents are evacuated, strikers are ordered to leave as well, anticipating Moroha to handle the threat alone. However, Moro and his girls express their desire to stay and act as heroes. Surprisingly, the other strikers also decide to stay and join Moro in confronting and defeating the monstrous creature. Jin lays out the plan. And of course, Moroha, as the strongest hero, is their trump card. Kenkichi is using his fireworks to attack it, but that doesn't work, of course. No matter how huge and scary this gigantic metaphysical is, some of them get scared and want to escape. But the vice captain won't allow them, squeezing their eggs, saying it's better to die facing that thing than get your egg squished. This gigantic metaphysical is going to be a handful since it can unleash lots of equally ugly bugs residing in it. Since the big monster is attracted to noise, Moroha starts blasting rock music and gets into the action. He then jumps in, starts using the spell, and cuts the arm of the gigantic metaphysical while the others are trying to kill the ugly bugs. The monster pops up lots of creepy faces on its back, and those faces start howling ultrasonic waves, giving our heroes a big headache and weakening them. Satsuki goes berserk, thinking she can play hero by protecting everyone, impale it with his sword, utilizing his explosive power to save the day. However, the Russian woman and the French dictator are displeased with this course of action. As the battle concludes and the wounded are tended to, a new conflict arises. Moroha finds himself caught between Satsuki and Shizuno. Adding to the tension, the Russian head swiftly dispatches her assassin to eliminate Moroha. A new exchange student named Alina Arshavina arrives from Russia. Without wasting any time, Alina immediately confesses her feelings towards Moroha. But Moroha is reluctant and tells her that he cannot date her since they don't even know each other. Later in class, when Alina introduces herself, the pathetic Satsuki, as always, asks personal questions about her parents, to which Alina reveals she doesn't have any but a younger brother whom she loves. Shizuno wastes no time asking her if she is here to abduct or assassinate Moroha. But Alina reveals that her goal is to be in a relationship with him. Satsuki expresses her objection, but she's easily swayed by Alina's flattery. This tension between our girls creates a captivating showdown that leaves the class in awe, making it impossible for the teacher to start the class. The scene then shifts to fellow strikers. Taketsuru and Sophia are in practice. While they fight, Sophia could deflect his sword with her bouncy chest. Taketsuru spreads some traps, but Sophia doesn't stop and ends up giving some fan service because all her clothes are shredded to pieces. Sophia, being embarrassed, slaps Taketsuru with her full strength, sending him flying and ending the battle. Alina waits for Moroha outside the school, but his harem girls go into defensive mode, which obviously reads they won't let her have him. Alina doesn't care and boldly requests Moroha to go on a date with her, to which it seems like Moroha agreed because the following day Alina turns up in a maid cat girl outfit. She got embarrassed when he pointed out the weirdness and felt like dying. Alina is surprised that he is not suspicious of her being an assassin. This makes her note that he resembles someone she met long ago. Shizuno calls Edward's servant Angela to get more information about Alina. It seems that the smarty pants Shizuno was right all along, as Angela reveals that she once tried to assassinate Edward, and thus she is known as a man-eater. Back to the lovers on a date. Moroha is resisting at his fullest from Alina's strange behavior, like wanting a kiss while taking photos and sitting on his lap while watching a movie in the cinema. A little bit of serious drama when they start talking about family. Moroha reveals that his parents died when he was young, but he has his uncle and auntie's family. Alina's only family is her little brother. They hope they can meet each other's families. Later, back home, Alina is seen reporting to this crow familiar Conrad that it is part of Alina's mission to seduce him and let his guard down. They will take advantage of his weakness, which is family. If she is done with her mission, she will get to see her little brother. Alina then gets a love letter, which turns out to be more like a challenge letter from Shizuno. She is aware of her identity as the trump card of the Lightning Emperor and a savior whose mission involves eliminating other saviors. Anyhow, she won't allow her to be near Moroha. Shizuno is more powerful than her, so Alina is forced to use her secret move, which seals her victory. Alina issues a warning, telling Shizuno not to intervene in her and Moroha's affairs. Unfazed, Shizuno asks what if she refuses, asserting that she'll scar Alina's face so profoundly that she won't be able to show herself to him. Undeterred, Shizuno dares her, stating that Moroha is not the type to dislike someone just because they have a scar. The confrontation is cut short as Alina runs away when the teacher arrives to break up the fight. The next day, the group discovers that Shizuno has a curfew. Concerned about her injury, Moroha pays her a visit. Meanwhile, Conrad informs Alina about her mission failure, warning her. Shortly after, Moroha and Satsuki visit Alina. Moroha, being kind-hearted, offers to take responsibility for looking after her. Despite Satsuki's reluctance to let him feed her, Moroha goes above and beyond, even sleeping by Alina's side and holding her hand, feeling the weight of her impending mission failure. Alina requests Moroha to take her out on a date next time. At the park, she transforms into her assassin version and starts attacking. Meanwhile, Shizuno tells Satsuki about Alina's true identity and they want to stop her. But Sophia gets in the way under orders from her American branch. They want Moroha to defeat the Russian assassin. Satsuki fights Sophie to let Shizuno through. All that training paid off, with Satsuki beating her despite Sophie's overflowing prana. Moroha might be struggling against Alina's demon sword at first, but the more he remembers about his past, the more he gets into the groove and easily turns the tables. He knows about her predicament and even wants to help save her brother so she can be free. He understands what she is going through, just like him. When Shizuno arrives, she reveals the surprising plot twist of information that Alina never had a biological brother. She was abandoned all alone, leaving her in shock. On the other hand, Conrad introduces himself and admits that it's true, those memories were just fake illusions he planted. This causes Alina to break down and be easily mind-controlled by him to fight Moroha. Moroha powers up and cuts off Conrad's control to free her. Moroha tells her that he would be her family. The next day, Moroha anticipates that she is going to leave, so he casts a sleeping spell on her. He purposely calls Edward to inform him that he is declaring war on Russia and going to fight them alone. Moroha confronts Bernard, the head of Vladivostok's branch, and easily defeats him with a magic lightning strike. Despite interrogating him, Moroha decides not to disclose Vasilis's location. Opting not to kill in this war, Moroha nonetheless inflicts harm by stabbing his sword into Bernard's guts. Angela, accompanying Moroha on this journey due to Edward's orders, possesses a fake passport and visa that allowed them to enter Russia, although she is not thrilled about her role. Bernard, reporting his loss to Vasilisa, faces her wrath for his failure. Despite Moroha's restriction on using his sword to kill him, Vasilisa opts for an honorable death by striking him with her lightning, observing his content expression. However, she also contemplates burning down his entire mansion, recognizing Moroha's formidable capabilities. Vasilisa directs her closest aides to reinforce defenses around her base in Krasnoyarsk, anticipating that the other heads won't be enough to defeat him. Back at Akane Academy, Moroha has left his harem behind. The girls argue. Alina wants to be Moroha's little sister, but Satsuki disagrees. Shizuno tells them to stop since Moroha is fighting the war alone, but they don't listen. We see Moroha going from branch to branch, defeating their leaders and moving on. Finally, in Krasnoyarsk, he faces the 8 pursuers. Kurson wants him to go back to Japan peacefully, warning of death for those who fight him. Moroha, not wanting to fight, has no choice due to the Empress's orders. Throughout, Moroha remains a gentleman, saving twins from friendly fire and defeating his foes. He notices Katia holding back and subtly signals her to pretend defeat. After defeating the Magnificent Seven, Moroha finds Angela struggling against the 8th warrior. He saves her from Vasilisa's trap, chanting via a mirror on his back and willingly takes a strike of her lightning. Suddenly, Moroha wakes up in bed with Angela. Apparently, she saved him after that strike, and the only way to heal his badly burned body was through hugging him in a naked state. Though, I wish there was a better way to put it. Suddenly, Katia appears and is initially surprised to find both of them naked. Angela quickly clarifies the situation. Katia then reveals that she had been following them all night because she has a request for him to save her best friend Yuri from Vasilisa's control. Knowing that he refrains from killing his enemies, she believes he's the right person to help. Katia explains that those who oppose Vasilisa have no family, and their mistreatment goes unnoticed. She makes kids fight each other, and the winner is forced to become her bodyguard. After Vasilisa disposes of another henchman for failure, she senses Moroha from quite a distance from her palace. Vasilisa casts a spell that summons a group of massive lightning lions and soldiers to fight him. As Moroha skillfully takes on all opponents, the logic of Vasilisa's bodyguard becomes apparent. It's not sorcery but a form of military art. Moroha moves with lightning speed, systematically defeating both the lions and soldiers. In response, Vasilisa summons her saviors to confront him. However, even they prove to be no match for Moroha's prowess, as he takes down the lightning beast and, in the process, finds himself with the dual responsibility of saving both the saviors and himself, taking advantage of Moroha's commitment to not kill. One of the saviors employs a gravity spell to immobilize him before meeting their own demise. Angela appears on the scene, bringing reinforcements in the form of Moroha's harem girls. Thanks to the convenience of portal transportation, Katia expresses sadness as Yuri fails to recognize her. However, after Alina explains how Yuri has undergone a positive transformation thanks to Moroha's influence, Alina swiftly removes a pendant that was controlling Yuri, freeing her mind. With her memory restored, Yuri recognizes Katia. It becomes apparent that the others are also wearing control pendants. With newfound freedom, they decide to join forces with Moroha and his companions in the fight against Vasilisa, pledging their support to the heroes. However, Vasilisa takes a drastic turn in the battle. She begins singing, summoning enormous and fearsome demons, their sheer size only revealing their massive legs, possessing the power to obliterate entire mountain ranges. In response, all the saviors unleash their spells, combining their forces to strike the colossal demon. Despite their efforts, the demon remains unbeatable. In a moment of realization, Moroha taps into a forbidden curse spell of super high-level magnitude, flooding the entire battleground. To counter the giant golden demon, Moroha summons the water tentacle demon, ultimately defeating Vasilis's formidable surprise attack. Shocked and defeated, Vasilis's bodyguards abandon her, revealing their fear of Moroha. In the end, Vasilisa begs for mercy as Moroha scolds her. With her defeat, everyone goes home happy, and Moroha gains a couple more girls for his harem. It's time for some fan service with Moro, and the girls are in a Russian-style sauna, while Angela is blaming Moroha for changing Russia's landscape. The girls are interested to hear how Moroha had ended up in bed with Angela, but it soon descends into a fight between the troublemakers Satsuki and Alina to be Moroha's little sister. After all those challenges, Satsuki beats her in arm wrestling, but they still try to compete by increasing the sauna's temperature. The one to leave first will lose the competition, but Shizuno doesn't take it and cools them down with her ice magic, leaving them freezing. Later, alone, Moroha talks to Shizuno about their past lives, but he can't remember some unfamiliar enemy he is fighting. As everyone returns home via Mary's portal, Meyer is so happy and ready to hug Moroha. However, only the girls came through, making the lowly super sad. Satsuki explains that a metaphysical was spotted, so he stayed back with the Russian girls to fight it. Meyer anxiously waited for him to come back, but now she couldn't even get to hug him. Edward is by the side of Japan's head, and Andu Suruga's condition is worsening. Normally, when a metaphysical shows up, he has chest pains, but now he is in a coma. Edward has a bad feeling that something ominous could turn up this time. True enough, when Andu wakes up, he warns that it's not an ordinary metaphysical but an ancient dragon. Back at the academy, in order to cheer Meyer up, all the girls visit her room. It wouldn't be complete without snacks and, of course, all the girly stuff like pillow fights. After having fun, all the girls are sleeping, but it seems the ancient dragon picked a nice time to attack the academy and its surroundings when Moroha is not around. So, our strikers go into action to protect the place. However, without Moroha, they're just not winning this fight. Even worse is how he is able to dispel all their spells at high speed and can even use them. Well, now where is Moroha when you need him? He is still in Russia, and after seeing clips of it on video, he becomes frustrated. All his memories of past life come flowing since that ancient dragon has always been the one appearing in his past lives like a bull, destroying and taking things he holds dear away. The dragon can't see my man happy, so now it's back again. About time to screw up his life when he is settling into his harem life. The ancient dragon starts destroying everything in its sight. Lots of people get injured in the chaos. Everybody is trying to defend themselves, but the ancient dragon is too powerful, defeating them one by one. This includes Mary because it took her so long just to finish her chant, and because of that, she has to pass this duty on to Maya. She faces the dragon's attack, but Edward protects her, allowing her to chant without interruption. The ancient dragon, despite having the power to finish them off quickly, seems to be deliberately stalling. Everyone notices its unusual behavior, wondering why it's waiting for someone or something. Thanks to Maya, Moroha finally joins the fray, realizing his powers alone won't cut it against the ancient dragon. The situation takes a dark turn when the dragon turns Satsuki and Shizuno into stone. Fueled by despair, Moroha goes berserk, unleashing a relentless assault on the dragon. Edward warns of the perilous Pandora's box, fearing Moroha might unleash destruction upon the world in his enraged state. Simultaneously, Satsuki and Shizuno confront the voices of their past lives, exposing their vulnerabilities and urging them to stand up for Moroha. Their realization acts as a calming force, bringing Moroha back from the brink. Now, it's Moroha's turn to remember, resulting in a powerful hybrid of both his past lives. This newfound strength boosts the confidence of the strikers and allies, leading to a coordinated attack on the dragon. Despite the collective assault, it's clear the dragon remains resilient. Moroha, supported by Satsuki and Shizuno, recites powerful incantations and delivers a decisive blow with his massive sword, ultimately obliterating the ancient dragon once and for all. The battle reaches its climax as Moroha's combined strength triumphs over the formidable foe. In the aftermath, as they see Edward off at the airport, he warns Moroha about that Frenchman. Satsuki thought she could steal a kiss from Moroha, but apparently Shizuno's insults were enough to annoy her. Later, Shizuno tries to do one on him too, but Satsuki comes running back, and they both kiss him simultaneously on his cheek. The shock makes him step back a bit, though the school is in ruins. Once they confirm everyone is safe, they decide to have an outdoor party. Alina, dressed as a maid, tries to greet Moroha. The students playfully compete to hug him, and Meyer ends up winning, hugging him first. If you liked what you saw, consider subscribing to the channel and stay tuned for more quality uploads.